Hello and welcome to the Niler 9 podcast. On this episode, we are joined by BBC Six Music's Deb Grant. Hiya, Deb.
Hi.
So, thank you for being here, Deb. This is the best of the month episode. Typically, what we do is pick 5 songs or albums each and discuss kind of new music stuff. Always new music, kind of what's happened in the last month, and some stuff that we're really excited about. But of course, Deb, I saw you there last week in person, as it happens, which was kind of a funny coincidence. I didn't know you were the ambassador for Heineken Greenlight when I reached out to you last week at all. So it just so happens that that's something you were doing last week. I saw you in person at the Greenlight launch event.
Yeah, it was nice to, I've known of you and known your name and seen you around on the internet for a long, long time. And probably we would have met in person before had I not moved away to the UK such a long time ago. So it was a very nice coincidence to have a IRL meeting, although like at quite a frantic sort of loud event.
You were doing the hosting part of that for the Heineken Greenlight launch. Will you be back to see any of the kind of gigs that are on there?
I'll be back for all the gigs. So they're happening all around the country on the bank holidays. So I'll be back at each of them. I won't be hosting, but I'll be doing interviews and stuff, obviously attending the gigs because, the lineups are pretty amazing. Are you going to any more of the gigs?
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely around for the Dublin one so far. And I think I'm DJing after one of the sprints and the Really Good Time one as well. So I'll be doing that. And look, there's loads of great things to see. Tomorrow, looking forward to seeing them as well. That's that. Lots on Heineken Greenlight. And have a look at that. Deb, the other stuff that you are up to. So you're based in Manchester now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, like you mentioned, you left Dublin a long time ago. When did you leave?
I left when I was 19, which is 22 years ago.
Yeah. You're kind of talking about around the time I started doing what I'm doing is when you left. So
ships in the night.
No wonder we never met. But since then, you've always been interested in music. You've always been interested in what's happening. You now present a new music show on BBC Six. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I've always loved music. I was DJing a bit in Dublin before I left, and then continued that when I moved to London. I moved to London to study music and then just, pursued music kind of in a passive way after I dropped out of uni. But yeah, ended up somehow on Six Music. And now I co-host the new music show, which is, Six Music is very important, I think, for giving certain types of acts a platform. There's nowhere else really for the kind of weird and alternative stuff, and I feel like that's true for the UK and also Ireland as well. Anyone who listens to the show will know that it is a sort of conduit for a lot of the amazing music that's coming out of Ireland. So yeah, it's a real privilege to host that show. Obviously, it means I get to sit and listen to a lot of new music, although a lot of it still passes me by because there's so much of it. It's great fun.
Yeah, you had Madra Solak on there most recently as well.
That was last night. Well, we recorded it last week and that was on last night. And that's, there's such a buzz about that band. At that night for the launch for the Heineken Greenlight, I had my Madra Solak t-shirt on and I was being stopped all over the place. It's Madra Mania. So,
well, they're one of those bands where, they're suddenly buzzing. They don't have any singles out. And then when you do get to see them, you're like, oh, right. Oh, no, these are actually a really amazing band. There's something really special here. So it's very exciting when that kind of stuff happens. Have you seen them live?
Yeah, so they played a tiny venue in Manchester. This is kind of a testament to how quick their ascent has been because they had this UK tour booked playing these really small venues. They played a tiny venue in Manchester. It was 80 cap, this place called the Rat and Pigeon. Almost didn't get in. And apparently the waiting list for tickets was 900 people. Because, they obviously booked that venue. And then by the time they came to play the gig, they just become so massive. So that was a special thing. And I was saying this to them in the interview last night as well. Everyone in that room was kind of looking around at each other being like, we'll probably never get to see this band in a bit. We'll be, boasting to our friends about this in a few years' time.
Yeah, there's special things coming for them for sure. And
definitely.
When I saw them at Ireland Music Week last year, I was like, okay, yeah, there's something really, really special. So I'm very excited to see them again as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're playing at Heineken Greenlight, obviously,
Yeah.
and they're coming back to the
Great
UK to
Mary's
do a
Bar,
tour of.
which is tiny as well, so I don't know how they're gonna do that, but I enjoy it. It's kind of the same
Again,
as like what you're talking about.
yeah,
You won't see
that'll
them
be
anywhere
something to
else.
tell your friends about. But like you say, the you hear a buzz about a band and you think, okay, they've got all the elements of what's kind of zeitgeisty at the moment, and then you see them live and you're like, oh wait, holy shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like this is, and even the session that they played for us, you just listen to it and you're like, these people know what they're doing. Paul's voice is just, I mean, yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been obviously a number of years now with a lot of this kind of buzzing Irish music of different stripes, but certainly that kind of folk trad thing is a whole other strand that maybe we didn't see coming a few years ago or 5, 6 years ago. Obviously, the likes of Lancome started it off. You got the Mary Wallopers, all sorts of stuff, and there's a whole slipstream of bands coming in the wake of that. One of which I'll talk about in a little while. Obviously, there's the more mainstream version of all that with Kingfisher and Amble and all that kind of stuff. But you were actually on the panel for the Choice Music Prize this year as well. Maybe it felt like a foregone conclusion in terms of who won it. But how did you find the experience of being on the panel?
It was really interesting because I was in the audience the previous year, and it's a very different experience being in the audience because you're sitting there watching these performances. Most of the nominees perform at Vicar Street on the night, while the judges are kind of holed away, as in another room, not actually seeing all of these artists perform, and then
Totally missing out.
yes, exactly, complete FOMO in the other room. And I watched all of these incredible performances, and Kneecap and Fontaines were the only two bands who were nominated but didn't perform, and fair enough. And then we watched all these amazing bands perform, and then out comes the announcement, and it's like Fontaines have won, and I'm just like, oh, that feels like such an injustice. Like you say, like I wonder if that was a foregone conclusion. So I came to the judging panel this year, and I was like, CMAT's on the list, you know but there's so many great other artists nominated as well. Like I want to make sure that all of these artists get a fair whack at potentially winning this prize. But then you sit there, and the more you kind of narrow it down, and everyone does get a fair whack. I'm as you know yourself,
Mm.
it's a very in-depth conversation that you have, and people like kind of pitch for the albums that they really believe in. But at the end of the day, in amongst amazing, talented company, you know, CMAT's album really just takes it. Like, and it's not so much to do with, I mean, we did kind of have a conversation about like, okay, if an artist has, endless resources to make the record they want to make, does that count towards how we should judge the outcome? Um, but it's not just in terms of impact; it's in terms of the quality of the record and who she is. I mean, it wasn't, let's say, unanimous, but these things never are.
No, no.
But yeah, and I love that she performed as well. That made a big difference. The fact that she actually came there to perform, and it clearly meant a lot to her. I think that was really important.
Well, she had won before, but she wasn't there at the time, and it was nice to see her, and it was nice when she came out at the end and sang the song from the first album because she never got to do it the first time. So she's so aware and so appreciative of the support that she's had over the years. Funny, I was on that panel last year with the Where Fontaines won, so I'm partly responsible for that.
Ha! It's your fault.
Okay, so let's go into our new music choices. I'm going to start with the band that everyone's talking about on the internet this month. I'm curious to get your take on this one. I was kind of a little bit unsure. I wrote about this in the context of seeing this band on Instagram mostly. And I guess the thing about seeing them so much on the internet, it's a very visual thing. We're talking about Angine de Poitrine, the Quebec math rock duo. Now, I love this kind of music, but there was a part of me that was just like, I didn't trust Instagram to kind of give me something good from the algorithm anymore, which I was saying is kind of a problem when you're like the kind of person who spends all their time listening to new music stuff. So I was like, okay, well, this is a problem for me. But it took real people to be like, oh, actually, you should check them out. They're really good. And I did, and I was like, I actually really love this. Obviously, we're talking about Angine de Poitrine. The KEXP session is the thing that people really reacted to. It went viral on the internet. They wear these polka dot paper mache masks. They've got a microtonal guitar. What does that mean? It means a guitar that's has extra frets in it, so it has a different kind of scale. Everything sounds different. Deb, what was your experience with this? Did you see this on the internet? What happened?
No, so I first heard them when my co-host Nathan played them on our show, and he said as he was playing them, Deb, I found this for you. I think you'll really like it. And he was right. It's got all the elements. I mean, they remind me a lot of bands I like already. There's a band called Horse Lords that they really remind me of. Same kind of modal sort of guitar wangling. Although I think Angine de Poitrine is a bit more accessible, as in I personally could sit and listen to them for, a long time. I loved him. I wonder how important it is now to have some kind of novel visual element to your music in order for it to go completely crazy. But then maybe it's not necessarily beneficial for your music to go off on the internet, because I feel like people get bored of stuff quite quickly. And I mean, I really like the new LP, and I think the tracks are distinctive enough from each other for the whole thing to be entertaining. And I think probably the best thing is to see them live, and they are coming to the UK. They're playing some live dates, and again, I feel like by the time they come around to actually playing these gigs, they're gonna wish they had booked bigger venues. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Well, I don't know what it was like. What is the kind of have they changed venues? Because in the Dublin gig was basically went from Opium to Vicar Street, and it's all out within 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who want to see them.
I was surprised even that they'd booked Vicar Street. Although, well, I don't know. What's bigger than Vicar Street? The Olympia, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. But I mean, the next jump up is 3 Arena.
Yeah.
We're getting a bit too soon ahead of ourselves.
Although
there,
one
maybe.
day.
So,
but it's...
Although maybe there could be a second gig. We're hoping, I mean, a lot of people are hoping for a second gig. There's a couple of, I think they're playing Leeds to the 2 nights before Dublin. Oh. So there's a bit of hope then. Might be a second gig announced for it. But
I mean, even the venue they're playing in Leeds is pretty small.
Okay.
But yes, I think they're great, and I really like this album, and I hope they. But I mean, you think about moments like this in music, and you're like, okay, how much is it? People are just surprised to see something new. The novelty of it. Obviously, the music is great, and they're amazing musicians. But it's kind of well, where do they go from here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is their second album, and this is my choice for this month is the actual album itself, not the KXP. It's something I just really enjoyed. I think there's a lot of Ireland has always loved that kind of math rock bands. I'm thinking about the likes of Adebisi Shank and Richter Collective, a lot of those kind of very intricate guitar bands, especially the more up-tempo stuff. So we've always liked that stuff, and this is definitely scratching an itch for me that I didn't know. When Adebisi came back last year, there was definitely oh yeah, I forgot about all this stuff that I used to love all the time. This is where what I started writing about locally as well. This was going to the lower deck and watching bands hit the roof literally, and just having a great time watching these kind of instrumental math rock bands. So it kind of does give me a bit of that vibe for sure. But I think there's something else to it as well, because of, the microtonal elements, the kind of jankiness of it, the whole thing. It's kind of some of it. There's a track on this album that sounds a bit like Primus, which I wouldn't normally be my buzz, and there's also stuff that kind of has the dueling kind of guitars of it reminds me of Tin Lizzy sometimes as well, because it's it has this, the guitarist is obviously looping stuff and then playing the bass and the guitar at the same time, so just has that kind of vibe to me sometimes, and I'm I really like this. It's very it's like a warped Alien Transmission. Obviously the whole look of it is all that. Anytime there's any kind of vocal, it's all garbled kind of alien vocal, but it's the dizziness of it all, and I love the kind of repetition and all. So let's have a listen to the opening track. This is Fabiank from the record. I was playing this in the car a few days ago. My son is 2.5, and he said, "Dada, it's stuck," and I was like, "Yeah, it's stuck, all right." So I kind of it makes sense to me now. I'm like, yeah, I like music that gets stuck. I love the comments on a lot of this stuff. Is the YouTube comments. I'm a big fan of whatever is wrong with these two. The funny thing is, I mean, obviously being 2026, people are already like, Angine de Poitrine unmasked already, and you're like, who cares? Whatever. I actually noticed on their website today, looking at the record, it says Angine de Poitrine is an anonymous art project. Any speculation regarding the identity of its members is unverified, not endorsed by the group, and could constitute an invasion of privacy. So,
wow,
setting the marker there anyway.
How long can they keep that up? I mean, it must be. It must be tricky for anyone who is trying to PR them and hoping to make money from them, because
you can't
obviously that. Yeah, I mean, how do they can't go and do? I mean, maybe they will go and do interviews in their own way, But fair play to them.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens when they come to the UK and Ireland later in the year. And so that's Angine de Poitrine. Again, like I said, I think the LP2, the newest one, is much better than the first one. But the KEXP thing is obviously the great introduction, and it's and then did you see that there was a Substack thing last week about artists going viral through this chaotic good? Do you see this? It's so there's this company in the US who apparently make artists go viral on TikTok and Instagram, and the way that they do it is basically creating fan bot accounts. And you expect this stuff happens all the time. But what was interesting about this one was one of the campaigns that they worked on was geese. So you're like, yeah. So like, it's kind of like these days, because this is what I was talking about, the algorithm, right? So the algorithm is so fucked these days that the problem is that no one trusts it, and we don't trust our own algorithm. So we are now gaming the system to the level where, even though a band who are great, Geese are brilliant, and Love Takes Miles, Cameron Winter was mentioned as well as a specific example. But what this chaotic good company was doing was creating thousands of these like accounts online to kind of seed positive messages about specific songs and specific moments. So if somebody like Angine de Poitrine, not in this case, seems genuinely viral. If a KEXP session is coming up and they know this, they will seed out lots of positive stuff, because the idea is the first thing you see that's positive, you'll kind of take that as your own opinion at first, and then be like, oh, actually this band are really good. So really interesting thing. I'll put it in the show notes. Chaotic Good is the name of that. As long as like the stuff like Somber and Alex Warren was mentioned, but then it was just surprising that something like Geese was also maybe using this kind of service.
I guess it works in the same way the radio does, in a way. Like, I'm not saying I'm the arbiter of taste or anything, but if somebody you trust, or if, a lot of people are endorsing a certain sound or a certain band, you can't help but be like, oh, maybe that's worth a listen. I mean, I will say, because I'll take any opportunity to say this, I saw Geese play at a very small venue in Manchester in 2023. It wasn't even, I mean, they're a great band and I love the gig, but it wasn't particularly full. And I think Cameron Winter still references that gig. He was getting a lot of abuse off people in the audience. I'm not really sure why. He had kind of a dad jumper on. That might have been it. But I mean, there was nothing about that gig or about the band that suggested they would become enormous anytime soon.
But it makes you think. I mean, I guess no one trusts our own algorithm anymore. So like, and why would we? Because it's like, I'm sure you feel the same. There's so much new music out there. It's hard, even the stuff you do like, it's hard to get to listen to it more than once even. For me, it's hard to find time to write about it sometimes. And I've kind of gone in this other direction recently where I'm like, okay, I can't do the playlists anymore. I can't rely on that as like a place to put music. I do sometimes, but I'm off Spotify now, kind of in the main. I'm using Qobuz, so I'm like, okay, I really, really want to kind of focus on specific. I'm focusing more on albums lately, so that's why a lot of my choices on this is albums. I still love individual songs, but it's just finding the time. Like, there's so much good stuff, stuff. So speaking of good stuff, Deb, what have you got for me for the first album we're gonna pick?
So there's a band called Waxhead, who are a Manchester, well, they're part of this universe, this record label called Sour Grapes, which are a Manchester-based record label. They they're really phenomenal what they're doing. Like the guys who run Sour Grapes also own a cassette shop in Manchester called Mars Tapes, which is really cool. And they also, one of them also books for this amazing venue called Big Hands in Manchester, which is like a dive bar type venue. But it all comes under the umbrella of a very similar aesthetic, which is kind of like gritty, grimy garage rock. And, the bands that they sign to the label all sort of fit into that aesthetic, whether it's kind of like more at the hardcore end or more at the retro kind of end. And I'm just really impressed by what they do. Like they've got this very coherent sort of sound going on. And anytime I see that a band have been signed to Sour Grapes, or I see that they're releasing something new, I know that I'm going to like it because I'm really into that sound. And it's all very, the bands are really good as well. It's kind of all very authentic. And Waxhead are a band who've been around for a while. We had them in session on the show, maybe last year or the year before. And this album that they put out, it's called Gnat. And it's all insect themed, apparently, although some of the tracks are so fast and furious, you can't really figure out what they're saying. But sonically, I really like it. Amazing, amazing live band, which you can kind of tell from the sound of the records. Some of these tracks on the album are more at the kind of speed, sort of hardcore. I feel like hardcore has become this really generic term, a bit like post-punk. For me, hardcore is like fast, hard, loud punk music. And that's kind of what I hear in this album. And they're just a fucking great band. Great. Such a great live band as well. That track was a single. That's probably more at the garagey end, but Nat is actually their debut album, and there's more kind of hardcore leaning tracks on that record. But yeah, brilliant band.
Great,
such a good record.
So that's great. That is Waxhead, and Nat is the name of the album. My next choice is also an album. It is from Avalon Emerson. Written into Changes is the second album from Avalon Emerson and The Charm. So I mean, for me, I know Avalon Emerson from being an electronic producer, going to see her DJ and being like, that was my, a lot of people's first experience of Avalon Emerson. In recent years has kind of pivoted towards much more live band kind of stuff. And this is the second album written into Changes under the Charm moniker. And I really like this record a lot. It's kind of very groovy. It's dance adjacent, but definitely more singer-songwriter, shoegazy bedroom kind of textures. I'll play the track Eden to give you an impression of what that sounds like. This is the opening track from the record.
Grasping at the foamy waves, I just wanna kiss your face.
So yeah, that's the opening track and first single from the record. Now it's so interesting because like Avalon Emerson was releasing like up until September, October was releasing a lot of kind of the more dance floor stuff, electronic stuff. There was a track with Moby, I think, as well. And so I saw her in November. I went to see My Bloody Valentine in Dublin and legged it over to Fidelity afterwards down the Lewis tracks, and Avalon Emerson was playing, and it was just one of those brilliant club nights where everyone was into it. Everyone was really nice. The vibe was really good. The tracks were great. She's played a lot of her own stuff, but none of this obviously as well. But maybe she might have played one of this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's certainly more like it's more headphone kind of music as well. It was co-produced with Bullion, the producer, and Rostam, formerly of Vampire Weekend, obviously has contributed to some of the production on it. So really is like about movement. It's about there's a couple of tracks here about her partner as well, and so yeah, I just think it's really, really lovely. There's kind of, that song has kind of a bit of a like kind of a baggy kind of feel to it. There's tracks on there that sound a bit like kind of the Caribou kind of synth pop stuff. And a couple of love songs for her wife Hunter as well. This is an album track that Goddamn Finito it's called, and it kind of gives me like, this is kind of stuff that I'm like, yeah, I really like this. This makes the record kind of stand out a bit more. Okay, that is Goddamn Finito from the record Avalon Emerson, Written into Changes. Have you heard this before?
Yeah, we've played a couple of the singles on the show. I do like it. It reminds me a lot of a sort of mid 2000s, very clean electronic sound, bass, and the sort of the opening track you played, the sort of acoustic guitar in the background. It reminds me a little bit of that Fireflies track. I don't know if that's a bit reductive. Do you remember that? 10,000 Fireflies.
Yeah,
it's just very clean sounding.
Very reductive now.
It's you can't.
I was thinking more of do you remember like Jaguar Mad, that kind of stuff? Like
yeah, sure.
Kind of throwbacky stuff at that time.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think. It's all just very clean. The production is very clean. Like I appreciate the production. I appreciate the songwriting. And like it's not that I think it's a bad record, but it's just a bit too clean and perfect for me. And the sort of instruments that are layered, I always feel like with electronic music, an acoustic guitar over the top of it or underneath it anywhere just always diminishes it for me. Maybe that's just me being narrow-minded, but yeah.
Fair enough. No, I appreciate the honesty. Very good. Well, the album is Avalon Emerson, Written into Changes, and yeah, let's. You've got a track up next, and let's just actually play a bit of it, and then you can tell me all about it.
Carol Maia and Jeremy Gustin. It's a track called Aloe from a new album that they have coming out called It's Nice to See a Lake in Your Eyes. I love jazz, and I'm really attracted to music that sounds like it started off as an improvisation. That's just something that always attracts me. And this album is actually, they're kind of two well-established musicians. Carol Maia is based in Rio de Janeiro. She's more of an emerging kind of artist. And then Jeremy Gustin has a really long and sort of prolific background working with people like Iggy Pop and Jonas Policewoman. and David Byrne. He's a drummer primarily. And they just sort of came together and made this album, which I think, they were sort of swapping ideas back and forth. So it's this sort of like remote improvisation. But I just think it's really beautiful. I particularly the instrumentation I really like. Yeah, and I've heard the rest of the album as well, and it's really lovely. But that's probably a standout track from it for me.
Lovely. Is the album out?
I think it's out in May.
Okay, lovely. That's Carol Maia and Jeremy Gustin. Track is called Aloe. I mentioned the folk kind of revival, or whatever you want to call it, in Ireland recently, and I guess here's an interesting one because previously Soft Boy Records, obviously known for the likes of Kojak, definitely started with a rap vibe. And in recent years, we've had the debut album from last year, Cian Kavanagh, a country star, moved into a much more colloquial singer-songwriter kind of folk and indie vibe. And here we have the new artist on their roster, a guy called Rua Ree. I'm going to pick a new song that just came out today. So this is Sean Damery. He's from Cove in Cork, singer-songwriter, but goes by the name Rua Ree. And the debut album, a really classic Irish title, Tell Your Mother I Saved Your Life. It's out May 1st on Soft Boy Records. The first song came out was called Johnny Workman. This one today is called Makeover. I'll play a bit of it and I'll tell you why.
Living like a grave digger, digging up the hayfield, singing in the wayfield. And she took me up to Mayfield, and she threw me in the bonfire, swimming in the smolder, feel it in my shoulders, I can feel I'm getting older. I wanna John, fetch a pail of water, Robin Hood, John sipping on the way, Robin Hood, John, fetch a pail of water, Robin Hood, John sipping on the way, Robin Hood, John, fetch a pail of water, Robin Hood, John sipping on the way, Robin Hood, John, fetch a pail of water, Robin Hood, I'm sipping, and they said I wanna make over, I wanna get me nails done.
A folk song there about getting a makeover that came from a period of unemployment in Sean's life, and he was based in Cork City. He was busking on Shandon Bridge, making very little money, and out of frustration started improvising what you hear at the beginning of that song, and then wrote the full track based off that. So yeah, it's a funny one because it's very much walks the line between, he has supported Amble in the past, and like, look, full disclosure, I don't like Amble or Kingfisher, they're not for me, but there's certainly something in this where I could imagine he could easily play support to those without, fully giving over to mainstream folk sound there. So this album was entirely produced by Cian Kavanagh as well. So it also reminds me of, the Carlo folk songwriter. He's usually a bit more experimental in this. Seamus Fogarty had a new album out as well this month called Ships. It's like Seamus Fogarty singing Paul Simon is what it kind of sounds like to me. So that's Rua. And the album is out on May 1st. As I said, the title is Tell Your Mother I Saved Your Life. Lovely stuff. Deb, your next choice is from an artist called Shortstraw. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us a bit more.
So Shortstraw sent me her first track directly. And, that you get sent music from all sorts of places, but it's exciting when an artist sends you something directly and you open it up and you're like, fuck, this is amazing. I feel like there's a slow tie shaped hole in the UK music scene now. And, I heard the track that Shortstraw sent me and immediately thought of Slow Tie. Again, I hate immediately just comparing artists to other artists, but I just thought this is exciting in the same way.
Yeah.
And we played the track and she was so green. She was basically making music with her friend Leo in Leo's shed, as she put it. And we got her in to do a session for us. And it turned out not only was it the first radio session she'd ever done, it was the first time she'd ever played those tracks live. And we only found that out when she came into the studio and she played, and it was freaking amazing. Like it was just, she's just such a natural. And you can tell like in the sort of tradition of like a lot of great music and a lot of great genres, the music she makes comes out of like a sense of boredom. You know, she's from Coventry. There's not much going on musically in Coventry as far as I can tell. You can just sense that like she wanted to make something happen musically there. And she's gone from strength to strength since then. I think, you know, there were labels kind of fighting over her and stuff. And now she's finally back after a bit of a hiatus with a new track, and it's called Motorola.
If I'm being a prick, it's because of you. I just keep running, I just keep running, I just keep running. You're gonna make me flip, I think I might flip. You're gonna make me flip, I think I might flip. Like a Motorola, you're gonna make me flip. I think I might flip, I think I might flip. Like a Motorola, I think I might flip. You're gonna make me flip, I think I might flip. Like a Motorola, I think I might flip. You're gonna make me flip, gonna make me flip, gonna make me flip. I think I might flip. You button pushing prick. You're gonna make me flip like a Motorola. I think I might flip. Even that would be sick. You're gonna make me flip like a Motorola.
I hear what you mean there. So is there live shows? What's the buzz?
There should be. So she has gone out on tour in the past. I think she was supporting the Libertines for a couple of shows they played in the UK. There will be live shows coming up. I know she's got a mixtape. That track is taken from. That's coming out on the 22nd of May. And I imagine she'll be playing some festivals and stuff this year, although I haven't heard anything to confirm that. But yeah, I mean, great live performer, as you can imagine from that track.
Yeah, apparently Motorola written, recorded and performed a single night at a premiere in and Exeter while on tour with Slayford Mods.
There you go, typical.
Nice. All right, my next choice is an album from Issa Gordon. This is a Glasgow-based producer, singer, multi-instrumentalist. Previously released a debut album on Optimo Music in 2022. This new album is out on Lost Map. It's called 8 Men. I guess the vibe with this one is it's 8 tracks split evenly between kind of 4 traditional folk songs and 4 covers, songs by Richard Thompson, Lou Reed, Robert Wyatt, and Black Sabbath's War Pigs as well. So it kind of has this ambient kind of electronic trad vibe to it. And I've heard a number of these kind of things lately. There's another artist called Kane, I think, that I was interested in. But I think Issa Gordon, this is the one that I like is really resonated with me. I really like the kind of sound we hear here. The title and conceit of the record reclaims the narrative of songs by and about men, pointing out, among other things, that many old songs are actually written by women and their perspective subtly altered in the transcription. So this is a track from the record. I think it's the second track. It's called Love is Teasing. So Gordon says the album 8 Men is a bit of an ode to the format of the folk compilation. Collections artists and singers make of songs that resonate with them. There are songs about love, war, family, relationships, womanhood, like wee mini myths on the human condition. I hope it can still shed a light on some of these trad tunes, that they still live because they are reinterpreted and not stuck in what can sometimes feel like the stuffy constraints of tradition, whatever that means. Music doesn't happen in a vacuum. Folk at its best embraces this in the oral tradition, hearing, resonating and retelling. So yeah, the cover artwork as well is a tarot card painted by Gordon's mother in the late 80s of a high priestess, a woman eating an apple as well. So yeah, that was a recent discovery for me. I think I heard the first opening track on it, which is I Wish, which is this 8-minute sprawling kind of like electronic trad tune, and Yeah, I really like this a lot. Had you heard of Issa Gordon before?
Yeah, so I am quite familiar with a lot of the output on Lost Map Records. I
Great.
think it's a really, really great label. They put out a lot of interesting stuff. And I come across the track Young Edward before, and it's like one of the trad ones, and it really struck me because the delivery of it is so kind of, how do you even, it's like, I mean, it's more electronic music than trad. Like in terms of her delivery and her voice, it's restrained, I guess. The Young Edward track is really interesting because it's like a murder ballad, basically, being told with this very kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, Niall? Like, not restrained, like, you know, all of those like 80s electronic band had this very specific sort of, not monotone, but kind of very
Let's play a
serious
bit
sort
of
of
it now.
emotionless delivery.
We'll try and figure it out together.
Jag stiger sån i höga mer ögondagen ögon. Jag stiger sån i höga mer som är du. I can't not feel the air. I need more and more that I can't not feel the air. I know what's up.
You know, like when I think of murder ballads, I think of Nick Cave, and like the idea of Nick Cave with auto-tune is just so strange to me. So I really like it. I think it's such a novel take. I mean, it's exactly what she's trying to do, right? Sort of bring these traditional songs into a more contemporary kind of sound.
Interesting, I saw today One Leg, One Eye, Ian Lynch of Lancome is releasing an album. Well, his other project, One Leg, One Eye, with Owen Ferreri doing vocals on it. So that sounds like it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be out soon as well. So that's sitting in that vibe, like again, recontextualizing the tradition in a really different way. So yeah, I'm all for it. Your next track is a song called Romance. Tell me a bit about it.
So it's Baalti and Lapgan, who are two Asian American super producers who are kind of known for using a lot of samples in their work. And I know I was kind of saying this about Avalon Emerson, about how it reminded me of like mid 2000s kind of sounds. I think that was also a time when sampling was being used in a really interesting way by artists like Avalanches, and maybe we all got a bit jaded after that era of like creative sample use. So it's nice to hear producers using samples again in this really intricate, creative way. And also this track is just a bop. They have an LP together called Threads, which I think came out last Friday. But this was the last single I heard from it. Baalti and Lapgan are the two artists.
You're right, Jay. We're really returning to the kind of mid 2000s kind of sound there with like Gold Panda and Onra and stuff like that. Very like kind of sample based kind of beat music as well, which is, you know, the other band that I think of, El Michael's Affair. You know, they do a lot of that kind of
more soulful
Eastern
kind
sounds.
Yeah,
I really like that a lot. That's really nice. That is Baalti and Lapgan, and is the EP's out now? Is that, what's that called?
The LP came out on, the LP
Threads,
is just out. It's called Threads. Yeah,
lovely. Okay, well, my final choice on this episode is an album back to Irish, and again the trad and folk is here again. It is the third album from The Scratch, called Pull Like a Dog. So The Scratch are a band I've always liked, but never like really loved to the extent. I loved seeing them live because they were primarily a live thing. And when they arrived in 2020, it was real. Like their album came as a result of doing all of these live streams, and obviously that was where their reputation grew. But it's been a long time since that happened, and I think this is their best record yet. The kind of returning to bludgeoning power chords and heavy sounds. It makes sense because the producer John Spud Murphy, who's worked with Lankum and many other bands, is on the boards for this one, and I just think it's a really nice kind of, not course correction, but return to what they are like in the live setting. So album's called Pull Like a Dog. It's more like they don't evolve their sound as a kind of detonate and just reassemble it much louder, and kind of like what their gigs are like. So I'm thinking of a track like Glad Rags, which is much heavier than some of the other stuff they released. Let's have a listen. Yeah, I just think it's their best collection of songs yet. It's out now. It's recorded in Hellfire Studios with John Spud Murphy, as I mentioned. Yeah, and it there's kind of a casual feel to it that makes me feel like they were very relaxed making it. There's kind of like bits in between the songs where they're kind of laughing a bit more. So there's kind of a looseness to it that I appreciate as well. Especially for stuff like this, it doesn't have to be super serious. They still dip into some of the softer kind of folkier stuff here and there, but mostly this album is like them being loud, and I think that is probably where they are at.
You know, I left Ireland when I was 19, so what was that, 2004? And I remember having a sense when I left, like, it's so weird to say this now because it's so different now, but like I remember having a sense that like Ireland was very politically apathetic, like to the point where it was very frustrating as a young person to live there. And that was really my feeling about it when I left. And I was thinking recently, like, okay, Ireland is not like that anymore. I wonder if a band is going to come along that sounds a bit like Rage Against the Machine, because that's kind of like a gap in the musical market in Ireland now. So I guess that's where I see the scratch. And I know they are, I mean, maybe no more political than any other Irish band that's around at the moment, but I know that that's a part of their kind of identity. So I really like what they're doing. I think it's really cool. I've never seen them live, and I would like to, because I imagine that's a pretty rousing experience. I really like this album, and I think they're very tight, and they, like you say, it's almost like they almost sound kind of casual. They're just so confident in their kind of sound and what it is they're trying to put across, and that makes it really fun to listen to.
Yeah, also bringing in a member of the Dropkick Murphys to feature on this record, you know, like embracing that side of the kind of Irish rock heritage in a way. So I mean, it's great. I think the album's really good. I think they just need to keep doing what they're doing, and Deb, you have to see them live sometime soon for sure.
I will. Hopefully maybe they'll be at Heineken Grey Night.
Maybe they will.
That'd be nice.
Okay, so your final choice for this episode is from Hannah Peel and Beibei Wang. Tell me about this. This is a collaborative album.
Yeah, so Hannah Peel is like a really well-known and well-respected, like award-winning musician. He's also a broadcaster on the BBC. So I've known her name well for a long time. And she's linked up with Beibei Wang, who's a Chinese percussionist. And they actually met in Manchester working on a different project together and decided to make a record called The Endless Dance, which is out at the end of May. And this was the first thing I heard from the record. And it's just it's so brilliantly weird.
Yeah, okay, let's have a listen.
还是提着喇叭的喇叭打了，别着喇叭的哑巴，一喇叭，喇叭回家跟喇叭，喇叭地地大大吹喇叭，打南边来了个哑巴，手里别了个塔嘛，打北边来了个喇嘛，手里别了个喇嘛，提着喇叭的喇叭要拿换，提着喇叭的喇嘛要拿马，喇叭提着喇叭的喇嘛要拿。 的喇叭，吊打喇叭或别着喇叭的哑巴的喇叭瓶，不吃葡萄倒吐葡萄。
So Deb, have we heard any of the rest of this record to know what to expect other than that? Because it's hard to know what to expect from hearing that.
There's another single which isn't quite as sort of rhythmic as that, but I love the fact that I don't know what the hell the rest of the album is going to sound like. Sometimes you must find this yourself, like you're exposed to so much new music and a lot of the time you can sort of sense what people's reference points are. And sometimes you think like, God, there's nothing new under the sun. And then something comes along and you're like, oh, wait, there's still people doing stuff that's completely different. I mean, similar to Angine de Poitrine, like I love the vocals being used as like a percussive instrument in this track. I mean, the translation of it's to do with like the animal kingdom and stuff. Like, you know, the lyrics are actual words that she's saying, but I love that it's being used in this really different way. And yeah, I'm fascinated by this record. I can't wait to hear the rest of it.
Great, yeah, it's interesting like marriage of cultures and kind of point of views as well. So the album was produced by Mike Lindsay as well of Tongue and Lump, an artist who I'm always interested to hear what he's involved in as well. So yeah, that'll be really interesting to hear this. Yeah, it's kind of like that idea that, you know, the cross-pollination of music creates for some really interesting results. And when somebody says, I'm thinking of an album I got really into in 2014 by Fatima Al-Qadiri, Asia Tish. She was a Kuwait-born or Senegal-born, Kuwait-based, raised artist, raised by Russian-educated parents. So this kind of all of this amalgamation of different cultures together, and the album is just so interesting and cinematic, and I feel like there's elements of this. It was out in Hyperdub around that year.
Oh, cool! I'm not familiar with that album.
Really
at all,
great.
It sounds
I
like
must
I need
go.
to check it out.
I bought it on vinyl at the time, so I must revisit it at some point. But yeah, this sounds really interesting as well. Hannah Peel and Beibei Wang album is called The End of Stand. So this song is called Awaken the Insects. Deb, that's so nice to hear. What was the last record you bought?
Ooh, the last record I bought was a compilation of Manchester punk music from the late 70s and early 80s. There's this brilliant record. I mean, there's some great record shops in Manchester, but there's one called Vinyl Revival, which sporadically puts out compilation records. And this is third edition, I think, of this comp series they've done, where they basically find like DIY Manchester punk music that hasn't really seen the light of day, and they reissue it on this comp. It's brilliant.
Class.
So good. How
Sounds
about you?
Good. So we do these listening parties once a month. So the last one I bought is the next record we're doing. I always buy a brand new copy of the record, so we have it, because we play. The point is, we do these listening parties once the last Wednesday of the month in the Big Romance in Dublin on Parnell Street. Last month we did Rosalia Lux, which was incredible. We ended up doing 2 nights of that because it was just so popular. This month we're doing a very different record, which is Fleet Foxes' debut album from 2008. So that was the last record I bought as of yesterday. I was like, I better buy a new copy of it, so it doesn't skip, because we've done like 26, 27 of these nights now, and I think I've had one skip in the entire time.
Awkward.
Yeah, but it's only because nothing to do with me usually, but look, it happens every now and again. But and actually that wasn't in that venue, that was in Cork, so I'm blaming Cork. I'm blaming the setup. The setup in the Big Romance is so gorgeous, and it's so well set up for vinyl that you can't go wrong. We did have the listening party has been really nice, because it's kind of a way for me to, I started buying vinyl probably 2006, 2007. So I have a collection here beside me that's like a lot of stuff of that early times when I bought it, was like very of that time. Like, remember the band Waves, like the second albums of bands that I loved at the time, where maybe the second album wasn't as good as the first, because I was like buying the new thing. So it's been really nice to revisit the stuff that I love deeply, and also have an excuse to buy it on vinyl again.
Oh, sure.
So
what made you pick Fleet Foxes?
Well, actually, that was sometimes I get guests in. Aoife Barry is a journalist based in Dublin. She did the Jeff Buckley with me, so I gave her a choice for this year if she wanted to pick one, and she picked the Fleet Foxes album.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I think in coming months I'd like to do. I have a real itch to do Broken Social Scene, You Forgot It in People. That's one I really want to do, an album that means a lot to me. And God knows what else. I want to do so many things. I went to see Gorillaz last week, and I'd been thinking about my favourite Gorillaz album. I've been trying to decide which that is. I think it's probably Demon Days. Have you seen Gorillaz live lately?
No, I missed them on this tour.
It was so nice. It was just like, it was in the Three Arena. So we were up in the seats. There were lots of kids, and it was just like, wow, okay, this is a band that like maybe people are seeing for the first time. Like, it was so interesting because like I'd seen them at Primavera before, but never in that kind of crowd. And they came. Damon came out. The band came out. Damon came out. Damon got a big cheer, and then they put the members of the band, Gorillaz cartoon band, up as introduction, and they all got this massive cheer. It was so like, whoa, what's going on? You know, it was so interesting, but a really great gig, very loud, and so fair play. I appreciate that. Anything that's loud and does well in a place like the Three Arena is great. But it's just like, goddamn, Album's having a great time, isn't he? He's just like enjoying himself so much. He's on album 9 of the Gorillaz project now, 25 years in. And just, you know, he like kids are going to see it as well, you know? It's so interesting.
He just does whatever he wants. Like we interviewed him and Jamie when this album was about to come out. And, you know, he's so like, he's done so much press in his life. You know, himself and Jamie were just like, you know, there's no... Obviously, they have to go and do these radio interviews or whatever, but like, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they were just doing and saying whatever they wanted. Like, we got into this conversation about how come nobody knows their phone number off. You know, you used to know your home phone number off by heart, and we were all like reciting our home phone numbers from back in the day. And it was just like this really, I mean, none of this could be used in the interview because it was totally irrelevant to what we were talking about. But I was just like, right, this is great. Like, normally you talk to an artist and like, they have their one objective, which is to talk about the record that they're promoting. But like, you know, Damon and Jamie, like you say, they're just having a good time. They don't really care.
Yeah, and like still super engaged in music and what's happening. You know, Cara Jackson is on the new album, and that record from a couple of years ago was my favorite, I think, possibly of 2024, 23, whenever it came out. And last time I saw her, she played in the Workman's Cellar to about 60, 70 people. And there she was on stage playing to like thousands in a room. And you could sense an idea. There's like a sense of nervousness to it on her part. But like Damon was really like punching the air when she was singing. So it was just really nice. It was like, this is a man who's clearly like still super engaged and loves music and interested in new artists and all that stuff as well. So it's just
absolutely,
you know.
He's not interested in all the pomp and the, you know, he's completely over that because I guess he's seen every side of it and he just wants to make music and, like you say, cares about new musicians, which is really cool.
What about the last gig you went to?
The last gig I went to, I think it was David Byrne. Was it David Byrne?
Oh, yeah. That was a few weeks ago. Similar. Yeah. That was the second last gig I went to. What an amazing night.
I think it's definitely one of the best gigs, if not the best gig I've ever seen. I mean, it wasn't even a gig. It felt like a church service.
Yeah.
Like for some mad new cult, which I'd be very keen to join if he ever does decide to actually form a proper cult. But it was just joyous, wasn't it? It
was great. Now, the only thing I will say, because I was on the guest list, I was off on the production side, so I missed. I wasn't head on, so I couldn't see everything as fully as I would have liked. But last time I did see the American Utopia tour, and that was the one for me. I was like, okay, this is incredible. Obviously, because I've read all like how music works and stuff that he's done, and it just feels like he is, you know, the thesis of his life is coming to bear on stage and how he presents it, and you know. It's still so fascinating to watch. And I mean, like, it was my second time seeing it, but like seeing the fact that there is no cables or things visible on stage, the fact that it's very free form and they can move around, choreograph stuff, and the fact that he's 70, whatever he is now, and still just like, again, probing and interested and just like inquisitive. And that's the thing, is like, he's the most deeply unproblematic man in music. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's really great, especially as like, you know, all the headline stuff at the moment with like Kanye and all. You're like, wow. It's just nice to have somebody you can just be like, oh, look at him there. He's shown us his apartment. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, totally. And like you say, just like his curiosity is so charming. Like he probably did a similar thing in Dublin, but you know, he put up like photos. He went to like Manchester Museum earlier in the day. And I know that it was actually him who went and not an assistant, because like a friend of mine works at Manchester Museum was like, David Byrne came in today, you know, and he put up these photos as the backdrop to the gig. Nice. You know, he'd taken a picture of a red letterbox and he was like, look at this red letterboxes are red here. It's so funny. It was so charming. I actually saw Mandy Indiana played at Six Music Festival as well. When was it? The week before last. And that was great as well. I mean, that was loud. Like that was just like
so. Yeah,
the earplugs did nothing. But that was really good as well. And a band that make a lot more sense to me now that I've seen them live.
Okay, yeah. I have yet to see them actually. But yeah, I like their vibe and what they're doing. I think they played here recently. I wasn't able to go, but look, there was lots of stuff that was released this month that I enjoyed. That Joshua Idahen is Idahen? Is how you say it?
We say Idahen, but that's
Idahen, right? Yeah. I haven't heard.
I can't
say
guarantee
it out loud.
that's correct.
Yeah, Courtesy and Owen mixtape, Get a Life. Really enjoyed that. Obviously, Robin came back. The Fuckers Defu album. Really like that. Joshua Burnside is Not Going to Be Okay. I write about all this stuff on the website anyway, so that'll be up. Sugaboo and Little Skag and rappers making cheeky, almost problematic bangers, and then the likes of Seamus Fogarty and Eliza as well, who had a lovely record out as well. So lots of music. It'll all be on 909.com. Deb, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I really appreciate it. Nice to spend time with you talking about new music. And yeah, what else have you got coming up other than the green light stuff? Anything you want to talk about? Anything you're excited by?
Well, thank you for having me, Niall. It's a pleasure to finally sit and talk to you about music. So the Heineken Greenlight gigs are all across the bank holidays this summer. And, it's really exciting. I'm very pleased to be a part of that. It really taps into what I believe in about what live music should be. Aside from that, I'm on Six Music Monday to Thursday, 7 till 9 p.m, doing pretty much exactly this, just sharing my favorite new releases with my co-host, Nathan Shepherd. And there's probably a million things that I'm playing a Crankin' House Festival, which is a brilliant festival organized by the band Sea Power. That's coming up in August, I want to say. It's like a really small, intimate festival. It's great. The lineup is amazing. And last year, myself and Sean Keaveney got to judge the dog competition because people can bring their dogs. That was like, it sounds kind of fun, but actually it was quite tense and high pressure. So that'll be good. And then my boyfriend is playing Deershed Festival, so I'll be there. That's a great lineup too. And there's probably a million things I'm doing. Who knows?
What's your boyfriend's artist name?
So he was in a band called Pulled Apart by Horses, who were like a Leeds art rock band, and now he plays music under his own name, James Adrian Brown, as opposed to James Brown, which would make him kind of ungoogleable and also quite funny. But he makes like experimental electronic music, sort of live synths and all that kind of thing. But he's a great performer, and he just put out his debut solo album, Forever Neon Lights, which is a beautiful album. Plug. He's got way more interesting things going on than I do.
I'll check it out. Lovely. All right, Deb. Thanks so much for taking time to chat to us, and we'll chat to you soon. In real life or otherwise,
Hope so.
Thanks a mil.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the 909 podcast. If you like what we do, why not consider supporting us on patreon.com/909.